Hello, mixtresses and mixters. This is Mixtress Ray. You're watching Mixtress Video. It is time for another unfair comparison series. I just looked to see, like, have I done this one yet? Because I've been thinking about doing it for a while. But oddly enough, I have only done 2 of these. I think I filmed a few more and they just didn't work out. They truly were unfair comparisons, so I just didn't put them up. But this is one I've been wanting to do for a while. I've probably done it myself just without filming it. I think I have. But so this is Nicoletta Ceccoli Tarot versus, we're going to do a full flip through of both side by side with Dreamkeepers Tarot. Now, the reason that I chose these to compare to each other is because the art styles to me have a similar vibe in that they're both kind of a vintage feel, kind of vintage surreal kind of deck. That's how I see both of these. So for me personally, because I'm a person that I don't want to have a lot of decks, and both of these, I love the art, but I don't use either of them very much. I am going to focus on this one. I use one deck a week for the most part. Like if I'm doing readings for a client, I might choose a different deck, but for the most part, I pick one deck per week that I focus on. And I pull all my daily cards from, and I do all my weekly readings and all that stuff. But, so I am going to focus on this one because I feel like this is a very Christmassy deck. It just has a more winter vibe to it, and it's probably a lot of that is just because this looks Christmassy to me. So I really haven't used it much since I got it, so I'm going to focus on it for a week this month in December. But I just got this one a few months ago, and I really haven't used it much. And I love the art, but anyway, so this whole thing is basically just so we can get a little bit of, forgive me for my nails, guys. I've been just like really wanting to do videos, but not having the patience to like make my hands pretty. So thank you for being forgiving of that. Okay, here we go. So what I love about this deck is that there's so much symbolism going on. There really is. And I believe that these cards were specifically created to go with the tarot, whereas with Nicoletta Ceccoli's art, someone decided which ones would make sense for the different tarot cards, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So I'm not going to be like picking my favorite of these. I'm just kind of looking to see, because if these kind of fit the same category for me, do I need both of them? We'll see. I love that this magician is called the Creatrix, but for me personally, I want to see all 4 elements represented in a magician card, and neither of these cards do that. Neither of these cards really say magician to me, except the fact that that says Creatrix, and I love that. I might be kind of silent in this because I'm just looking. Don't love either of these Empress cards. Again, I mean, both of these decks just haven't really worked for me yet, so they both might actually be leaving my life. I'm not sure. But hopefully when I watch back at this video, I always see something that I've never seen in my own cards when I watch my videos later. Like something that I didn't even see while I was making the video, and something that I never saw with the cards in person. There's just something about like taking that extra step back where all I have to do is press play on a video and look at the images, and I see something in them that I've never seen before. I like both of these lovers cards. I feel like there's a lot that you can really, like, if you want to sit and just like journey with the cards. Like, he is made up of cards. He's very fragile, and she has all of the phases of the moon inside of her. And she's sort of revealing that to him. She's like, look, I've got it all within me. But they're also both presenting masks to one another. They're not showing who they really are. So he's kind of revealing how fragile he is, and she's revealing that she has all these different sides to her, but they've also got the masks. And I don't know. So there's a lot. I love that kind of thing about Dreamkeepers. But I still just don't reach for it. I think that's because for me personally, whenever I use decks, I like simpler imagery, or not simpler imagery, but imagery that speaks to me on a more simple level. Don't really like either of those Chariot cards. I like, one of the other things I like about Dreamkeepers is there's a lot of like cosmic egg, sacred feminine energy. It's in a lot of different cards where there'll be eggs and snakes and, you know, the divine feminine energy. And I like that. This strength card kind of bothers me because I don't think it's about impaling the animal, you know? And again, this deck was chosen, the cards' meanings were assigned to Nicoletta Ceccoli's art after the fact. So she didn't make any of these cards with tarot in mind, to my knowledge. And there's just so much in these cards. Like, if you just, the longer you look at them, like she's looking at a reflection of herself that's holding a candle. She's like, you know, and there's water and a tree and there's clouds and like there's just a lot happening. And I like this too because it's like she's going around the wheel of journeying within herself, and she's growing in that self-knowledge because she's bigger over here than she was over here. I think that the problem that I have with Nicoletta Ceccoli's deck is that sort of disjointedness of like, well, she didn't make this because of the tarot themes. It was assigned afterwards. So like with this, I don't see what this has to do with justice at all. I really don't. And again, I know like a lot of people really love this deck, so don't take any of this personally if like you've had really great moments with these cards that I maybe just don't resonate with. Again, there's some of that like sacred feminine energy, and I like seeing that in a death card. I don't know if I ever have. I really like this death card as well. Just being that like she's not actually dead, she's just asleep. But then it also reminds me of the creepiness of fairy tales, which can be a good or bad thing, you know. This one really creeps me out, which I think is kind of the, I mean, I know that's the point of a lot of Nicoletta Ceccoli's work, is that it's supposed to kind of creep you out and have you kind of explore those feelings of being creeped out and like all that stuff. I love anytime you see a tower card where it's the person, where everything's happening within the person. I like that. This one I don't really like. Love anytime the images in Dreamkeepers have like skeletal morphing situations happening. And I like her use of birds. She's got a lot of birds in her cards, which make me really happy. This is a gorgeous star card. And this moon, oh, She's looking at like her reflection in the moon, and she's a skeletal form except for her head. And then she's got these like, are they morning glories in her head? Sorry, I edged a deck last night. And like, I've washed my hands several times, but I still have ink on them. Whatever. I just decide I'm going to do these videos and I have to set them up and do them immediately. That's just how I am. So that's why you don't get huge production value on Mixtress video. I like this one. This one bothers me because I want to feel joyful, dancing exuberance when I look at a sun card, and she does not look joyful at all. This one's really interesting. I don't know if I like that one. Weird to pit these up against each other. Like, I think it makes sense. I did one of these unfair comparisons. I filmed Ceccoli versus Beautiful Creatures, simply because both Nicoletta Ceccoli and Jasmine Beckett Griffith's decks kind of deal with that sort of overly sexualized, feminized childhood of girls. They kind of confront that. So I think that was an interesting comparison, but it just didn't really work. I think some of it was because I filmed it at night and the lighting was terrible. So I might just need to refilm it. Let me know if you guys are interested in seeing that. Beautiful Creatures Tarot versus Nicoletta Ceccoli. If you're interested in seeing that, I'll definitely film it again. Which I need to do before, like, both of those decks might not be permanent decks in my collection anyway. I think I'm picky about aces. I don't really like to have a lot of, I don't really like to have people in my ace cards for the most part. So I don't really like either of these very much. These both have like a mirror situation going on. I really like this actually. I love this. This is a beautiful painting. Don't get this at all. I don't get how this is Four of Wands at all. I think they just picked it because it had some like vertical structures in the background. It's kind of evocative of the Four of Wands in the Rider-Waite-Smith. This one I was looking at earlier today. It's really interesting. Like it's almost like this backstabbing quality here because her hand is detached and she's sort of conjuring this flame, and maybe she's already set her head on fire, you know, behind her back. Interesting. This is just like a little too Grecian for me. Like, I'm not really into that whole thing. I know a lot of people are. And this does not look victorious at all. She looks like despondent, which is just, you know, that's how this, it's hard because like, I don't want to act like I'm not like judging Nicoletta Ceccoli's art, because her art is beautiful, like taken as a painting without the significance of Six of Wands being attached to it. That is a gorgeous painting, and there's a lot to really think about there. So, you know, maybe I could get more out of this deck if I did what Boho Tarot did, which she cut off, I think she cut off all the like significators and she reassigned them. I might just cut them all off and use them as an oracle deck, because again, like if I'm dealing with sort of like the psychological ramifications of looking at Nicoletta Ceccoli's art and seeing how it challenges me without trying to assign it to a particular tarot card meaning, I might get more out of it. So that's an idea. just a personal preference, it kind of distracts me the way that Liz Houston will kind of smooth out the breasts of her. She kind of like totally homogenizes the like skin tone and takes out all nude characteristics. It should be noted also that both of these decks are completely white. There's no diversity in either of these decks at all, I don't think. It's all white people. And that's another thing I'm really confronting myself with. Like, it is something that I notice as a white person. It is something that I noticed, but it's something that I want to be more cognizant of. Like, I really don't want to have a lot of decks that are all white people. It's just, I don't want to do that. So really anything that is a deck full of only white people is on the chopping block for me at the moment. Oh my god, both of these. This is my favorite card in this deck. When I was flipping through it earlier, because I was flipping through it just trying to decide like if I even wanted to keep it at all. And I came to this card and I was like, oh, but this card makes me so happy. I love it so much. I need to see if Liz Houston sells prints on her site. I haven't looked yet, because I would love to just have a painting, have a print of this, because I love it so much, because she's like playing the music from her hand and it's coming out of her head and projecting into the world. It's just like, I also love this Page of Wands. I love how goth she is. It just I think of myself kind of like the younger version of myself was Page of Wands. So both of those cards just make me really happy. I don't really like any of the male figures in the Dreamkeepers tarot because they're just, like this guy with the mustache, and they're just too, it's the type of masculinity that I just really prickle looking at. I don't really like the queens in the Ceccoli deck. They do not make sense to me. Like, how is the Queen of Wands this melting ice cream girl? Like, no. I love the kings, though. I don't think I like any of the queens in Ceccoli's deck, but I like all the kings. Because a lot of them have this type of imagery where she's pulling up her skirt and she actually has a dragon underneath her skirt that can easily defeat, the little man, which I love. I love that. That's probably my favorite thing about the Ceccoli deck is that the kings, there are several of these where like it's a girl lifting up her skirt and a dragon is attacking a man that's trying to, get to her. And I like that. That speaks to me. I mean, this dragon looks so powerful that it could hop on over to this card and attack that ugly King of Wands. I like that in the cups in Dreamkeepers, they're all these, the same kind of cup. These are like Avon cups or something. You see them in all kinds of, you see them at antique stores. They're just very readily available. And I bought one for myself. They're really small. Like, it's like you could fit like half a glass of wine in those cups. And I have one that just makes me feel fancy every time I use it. Oh, I guess this one's a different cup. But most of the cups in the Dreamkeepers are that same cup. I like this anytime you see a Two of Cups that, like I've mentioned it many times, but I love a Two of Cups that kind of shows self-love. So I like that that's kind of what you see here. I mean, it could just be twins, but you could also see it as self-love since they look the same. I really like this Two of Cups too. It's really interesting. Love a mermaid situation in the Three of Cups. This one's cool too. this one. I feel like this is just like a really common stock image of two little girls. Like I feel like I've seen it a million times. Obviously she's edited in like a bunch of other stuff to distinguish it, but I still, you know what I hear in my head? You know that sort of like stock laughter, like children laughing sound that you've heard in like every single movie and every single TV show since the beginning of time. It's that same little laugh track sound effect that like every sound editor has used. You know what I'm saying? I just hear it when I see this because it's like super stock photo. I hear the super stock sound effect in my head. But that's just my own personal problem. You know, obviously it's great to use stock images because then you don't have to pay for them. But that one's just been overused. Again, nothing against Nicoletta Ceccoli or Liz Houston's art because they're making amazing, provocative art. So this is, even if I'm critiquing it, just little things that bother me personally. Like, let's keep in mind, I did not create a tarot deck. So this one bugs me as being Eight of Cups. Like, I love this image, but the fact that this is supposed to be Eight of Cups, to me, this looks like Eight of Swords. This is interesting, though. She's got like this sort of super faded skeletal figure trying to hold her back, but she's daydreaming about leaving. And then there's this little hourglass down here, and all the birds flying out of her head. This is one of the ones, like, see, I don't even know how to describe it, but the fact that she like blurs out and sort of smooths the body, like she has no articulation in her toes. She's probably supposed to be viewed as naked, but she has no nipples. She's just completely like blurred and smoothed. And for some reason that just bothers me. I don't know why, but it does. It distracts me. Oh, I love this Page of Cups. The way that there's like the roses in the cup and she's a mermaid and her hair's green and her face is going two different directions and there's like that skeletal I'm just like, I love it. I love it. This one's really evocative too. Again, like if I just sat down with a journal with either of these decks and picked like one card a day and journaled about how I feel about it and blah, 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 I might actually unlock what, you know, I might unlock these decks for myself. See, there's another king. Beautiful king imagery. And I like that, you know, we get these little moon face people for the King and Queen of Cups. And Dreamkeepers. Have no idea how this is an Ace of Swords. It's basically all of the like little girl eating ice cream or popsicle imagery in the Nicoletta Ceccoli. Like every single one of those does not match the meaning of the card at all, and it bothers me. But this is nice. I like that. She's kind of heading into a battle. She's got her umbrella and her sword, and she's got her little crow guides, and she's ready. Two of Swords is an important one to me. I think this one is really interesting. This one makes no sense to me as a Two of Swords. I like this, how she's headless, because you really have no logic whenever you're heartbroken. You know, your brain is just completely in craze mode and might as well just not even be there. I like both of these Four of Swords. This one is so gorgeous. You've got a black cat up here in the tree. You've got the raven right here, holding onto like a halo or something. Very Ophelia vibes in this Four of Swords. I'm reading Reviving Ophelia right now. Oh my god, you guys, it's so amazing. It's about the it was originally written in the 90s, and it's been like, as a 25-year, they did an update of like, it's about girl adolescence and like the particular issues that they faced back in the 90s in our culture. And then like the updated version is kind of like the specific things that they're dealing with now versus what they were dealing with then. And it's very interesting, you guys. I mean, it has nothing to do with tarot or anything like that, but it's just from a psychological standpoint, it's really interesting. I like this Six of Swords. This makes sense to me as a Six of Swords. It totally does. Oh, this one like upsets me a lot because it's like her life is about to completely change. She's about to be traumatized forever. I feel like that's what that says to me. I think this is a good representation of Page of Swords. I think it's really pretty. This is one of the only dudes in this deck that doesn't bother me. Probably just because like his eyes are closed and he kind of looks like Steve Buscemi to me. This one kind of makes sense. Like most of the knights in the Ceccoli deck do not make sense to me, but that one gives some Knight of Swords vibes for sure. Again, the queens with the ice cream just doesn't do it for me at all. This is like the least Queen of Swords vibe of any of my tarot decks. I like this King of Swords though. I think this is the only king that doesn't, let's see. Yeah, it's the only one that doesn't have like a creature coming out of a skirt attacking. But I do like it because I like the sort of writing vibes for a King of Swords. Which he has too. Look at that. Meh to both of those. Ace of Pentacles. I think this Ceccoli deck would have been better served as an Oracle deck. I really do. I know there is a Ceccoli Oracle deck, and I don't have that. See, look at that. I don't know. I just don't. It disturbs me, that whole like smoothing of the skin thing. Because it just makes everything look so distorted and strange. Although you get like the actual people's heads in the reflection, but their bodies are still all smoothed out. I don't know, man. I don't know. I like the kind of like, anytime you see sort of in the Three of, oh, I'm thinking of Three of Wands. Never mind. Take that back before I even say it. Yeah, so I guess this kind of reminds me, this should be a Three of Wands, in my opinion. Because that whole, like, drug connotations of, like, being seduced into a gateway, that is more Three of Wands to me than Three of Pentacles. I really like this Four of Pentacles, though. That whole, like, fortress situation. And she's feeling so alone, but then this little dice guy is also having the same feeling in his fortress. They might even be in the same goddamn building. I don't like either of these Six of Pentacles. I know I shouldn't be fixating on this, but the fact that there are way more than 6 little mice, like, I guess I'm just, like, too rigid for this whole, like, assigning meanings to existing art type deck. And the only ones that I have like that are Beautiful Creatures and this one and Ceccoli. So it just may not survive because I'm too fixated on that. Like, I like the spider imagery and everything in this, but this should be an 8 of Pentacles, you know? And because she's got, yeah, okay. Sorry, that's just me fixating. That's just me fixating. Sorry, bump the camera. Is everything still? Yeah, pretty much. Okay. This one's reminding me of all the things I have to do this week. Oh my god. I've got a crazy week. I'm autistic, so, like, anytime my routines are disrupted, it really throws me. In this particular week, 2 people at my job are on vacation at once. So I'm working a bunch of extra hours, and I'm working days that I wouldn't normally work at times that I wouldn't normally work, and I've just been so anxious about it. I mean, it's silly, but it's just because my routine is completely thrown off this week. Like, I can't even have my radio show this week, which I do every single Friday. Yeah, and I work all week. I just work so much this week, and it's stressful, and it's just looking at that for some reason reminded me. Sorry, guys. Little personal asides. Ugh, that Knight of Pentacles. I don't know, he just bugs me. I just can't do that whole, like, I don't like that sort of vintage vibe when I'm looking at men. Like, I can deal with it looking at women to a certain extent, but it is kind of triggering either way. There's the fucking ice cream again. I kind of want to look and see if every single queen has ice cream in Nicoletta Ceccoli. We'll do that in a second. Love that there are so many bunnies down here. This is a great Queen of Pentacles, honestly. She does sort of remind me of my mom, and I think of my mom as the Queen of Pentacles. Okay, so we're going to set that aside. Okay, so my favorite thing about Ceccoli is the Kings. My favorite thing about Dreamkeepers is the sort of the cards that have the divine feminine energy in them, and that Page of Wands. The King does not want to be there. Okay. I'm going to pull out all the queens in Ceccoli just so we can see if they all have an ice cream vibe. Nope, not this one. So they all have an ice cream vibe except one. And that also just kind of bothers me. Like, if you were going for an ice cream vibe with the queens, why not do it with all 4? If you're going to do it with 3 out of 4, like, why is Queen of Cups the only one that doesn't have ice cream? And then also, just because I want to look at them, let's also do the kings. Same thing with the kings. All of them have the sort of creature attacking from the skirt, except one. Take me longer than it should to find these, because they're all in order. I'm just getting distracted while I'm looking through them. That's the problem. I mean, maybe Nicola Ceccoli only has 3 images of creatures attacking from skirts, so they had to make the choice, well, either we can do it and leave one out in the theme, or we can just leave them all out. So I don't know if I'm any closer to deciding how I feel about either of these decks. I'm still going to, like, I need to spend a little bit more time with this Ceccoli deck, and kind of journal about the imagery and see if it unlocks anything for me, because it's one of those things, like, it's gonna take work, and I think both of these decks have that same element about them where, like, they take a little bit more concentration and work and, like, journaling to get to your personal style of meaning for these particular cards. I'm kind of thinking, like, if I can get a hold of, like, a print of my, like, top 4 favorite cards from this deck, that might be good enough for me. I might not need to have the deck to use as a tarot deck. And this one, I don't know. There's a lot of deal breaker elements in this Ceccoli deck. Things that just personally distract me too much for me to work with it effectively. So it's possible both of these decks are going to be, I'm going to be passing them on. But I'm not ready to necessarily make that decision yet. But you guys don't care. What do you think about these 2 decks? Do you think this was an unfair comparison? Let me know below in the comments. Also, let me know if you want me to do a Ceccoli versus Beautiful Creatures comparison. Especially let me know that as soon as possible, because one or both of those decks might be leaving my life at some point, and then I can't compare them anymore if I no longer have them. So anyway, I hope you guys are having a great December. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.